Morning, NFC East, and happy Tuesday for all of you. Hope you had some time to process this Eagles loss. I've had some time to process battling laryngitis over the last couple days. And Tone DeShields, I am very, very fortunate we did not have a show Monday because I would not be talking to you right now.
Yeah, man, it's a shame. It's definitely something going around. But, at the end of the day, you're here, Jeff, and we're going to have a good show, and we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, before we get started on some Eagles talk, I just want to remind everyone how secondary and how basically football is just for entertainment, because watching that Monday night game and watching Demar Hamlin collapse live on television was probably one of the scariest things I witnessed as a sports fan. And, I always was told about Hank Gathers, and, for those of you in Philly, you know who Hank Gathers is and what happened to him. And I just feared the worst. I still fear the worst with Demar Hamlin. I'm praying for him, praying for his family, praying for everybody on the Bills, on the Bengals right now. It's playing for the whole NFL community knew who Demar Hamlin was. He's a PA guy. So, as a former PA high school football player, I feel like I'm in that brotherhood. And, Demar Hamlin is family in a sense. He's in that football family. And it's just tough. For those of you who don't know, he did suffer cardiac arrest and is in critical condition. That's all we know at this time.
Yeah, definitely prayers up for Bill's safety, Demar Hamlin. When I heard about it, because I didn't see it live, so I actually saw everything after the fact, and it didn't really seem like a too bad of a hit. It seemed like a routine tackle, and then all of a sudden he just, collapsed. So I think it was the right thing to do to postpone the game, and more so just focus on life at that moment. At the end of the day, these guys play a kid's game, and life was more important in that moment. The unfortunate thing is, he's 24 years old, young guy, still has his whole life ahead of him, and you're hearing you're hearing some conflicting reports. You're hearing that he's stabilized, and then you're hearing that he's in critical condition. So ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to assume the worst and hope that everything gets better. And so far, no major updates. But the last thing I read was he's in critical condition, and like you said, Jeff, he suffered cardiac arrest. So prayers up to him, prayers up to his family, and hopefully this is a one-off, and he can resume football activities and play the game that he loves. So
Yeah, and resume life as well. I mean, when I was 24 years old, I definitely wasn't thinking about, oh, I could die. And he's, currently fighting through that right now, which is, it's just insane to think about. Like, this is, and again, this is not just a football player. He's he's a good man. And you don't want to see bad things happen to good people ever. So, prayers up, Demar Hamlin. Good Morning NFC East. I'm sure the whole nation is, they got your back right now, and hopefully that everything just turns out all right. But we do have to talk some NFC East on this show.
definitely,
I know it's tough right now with everything that's happened, but the Eagles played their worst game of the season Sunday, Tone. I just want to
you
get
think
that
so?
out. Oh yeah, I know so. I don't have to think so. That was I'll tell you what, for a game where everything, I don't want to say everything was on the line, because they have another game to do everything they
It mattered.
accomplished.
It mattered. We
Yeah,
won
it definitely mattered. I ain't gonna say it doesn't matter, but 10 points, a season low in points, a season low in yards. Gardner Minshew looked terrible. Their offense was just never in sync. It was. I don't want to focus on the defense, because I thought the defense really adjusted and played well after the start. So we're gonna go on the offense here.
Yeah.
How does a guy that's fifth in the league in rushing yards, fifth amongst all running backs in yards per touch since his rookie year, averages 5 yards a carry, get the ball 12 times?
It's a very interesting question, and I'll take it a step further. Do the Eagles have big problems brewing with their coaching staff being able to coach, or their inability to coach through adversity? You have to really wonder that, right? And I think at this point we can safely say Jalen Hurts, he is the system. All right, I think we can all safely assume that Jalen Hurts is the engine to this train. Okay, so I've lately, these past couple games, I've been questioning Shane Steichen's play calling. I've been questioning Nick Sirianni's decision making, and it always goes back to Nick Sirianni at the end of the day. And sure, Shane Steichen's calling the plays, but Nick Sirianni has to sign off on the game plan. And 2 weeks in a row, I've questioned the game plan. And in particular, I want to understand why you thought it was perfectly okay to call 3 straight passing plays on your opening drive with a backup quarterback where you're going up against one of the worst teams in terms of defending the run. I don't understand their logic. Do they always think, okay, let's not go with the obvious game plan. Let's go outside the box. And that's the definition of out-coaching yourself. Sometimes things are as simple as they seem. Last time you beat these guys, you ran the ball on them 40 to 50 times, if I'm not mistaken. They can't stop the run. And you're seeing them run like a triple option with Gardner Minshew. Cam Jordan sniffed it right out. It's like their game planning. I have to put this on the coaches more than anything. Their game planning on Sunday was the worst I've seen all year. It rivals the Bears game. That's how bad the game plan was. Their game planning in the Bears game cost them their starting quarterback.
Yeah, so that's 2 of the last 3 games now the game plans ultimately cost them. So I like where you're going with this. Again, Gardner Minshew, I don't think he's a starting quarterback in this league, obviously. He's a good backup. But they failed Gardner Minshew, and they failed Jack Driscoll on Sunday. Jack Driscoll did not have a good game at all. But they failed that man. I talked to Jack Driscoll after the game. He did again, Jack Driscoll totally blamed himself for how he performed.
He's going to do that.
Yeah, but run the ball. Like, help this young kid out. Like, you want to say Jack Driscoll's a liability, fine. How about don't throw the ball as much as you're going to, especially early in that game, and letting Cam Jordan just basically eat him for lunch. And I understand, like, you want to see what Jack Driscoll's got. That's fine.
That's not how you do that. That's not how you do that.
Exactly. Run the ball. Just run the ball.
Right. He's a backup for a reason. He's limited, right? Pass pro is significantly more difficult than run blocking. It's common sense. You want to get your guy confident. You want to start to add coal to that engine. You get him going forward first. You allow him to lean on his strengths first. And then you get him confident as the game goes along. Then you start dropping back a little bit more. It's common sense. And it begs the question, does this team or does this coaching staff really know their personnel? Right? You see at times where they put Quez Watkins in these weird route concepts. I'm like, why you got Quez Watkins running routes over the middle trying to catch a contested catch? That's not what he's there for.
No, Minshew almost threw a pick because of that.
I don't understand. I don't understand what their goal is, right? The Bears game, I didn't understand what their goal was. The Saints game, I didn't understand what their goal was. At least with that Cowboys game, you kind of knew that game had to be a high-scoring game. You knew you had to pass the ball in that game. You know what I mean? But even then, the Cowboys can't really stop the run either. So it's like, okay, why aren't we leaning on our ultimate weapon? And that's the run game, right? And like it really makes you wonder, has Jalen Hurts been saving this coaching staff from looking wild all year? So it really makes you wonder.
Here's a good one for you. John McMullen called Thursday the Dog and Pony Show. I don't know if you heard that, just trotting Jalen Hurts out there. You knew he wasn't going to play. Yeah, we were talking about this on Sunday.
Right.
Don't you feel the coaching staff, specifically Nick Sirianni, had a sense of arrogance going into Sunday? Like, oh, we can win with Gardner Minshew. I don't care if you can win with Gardner Minshew. How about you win with the guy you got and clinch everything? Now he's got to play this week, which, by the way, I don't want to spill the beans. Yeah, he's playing.
Yeah, I don't think they were wrong for not letting him play. I personally don't enjoy, like you said, the whole Dog and Pony Show, coined by our guy, John McMullen. I don't necessarily like that. At the end of the day, we know he's not going to play. Just move forward. Let's stop with the whole gamesmanship. It's getting old, right? They take it to new levels here, and I'm not really a fan of it, if I'm being honest. But they should have been able to beat the Saints with Gardner Minshew. let's be honest, the defense only gave up 13 points. And then all of a sudden, Gardner Minshew throws a pick six to A.J. Brown, who didn't even want to run the route. Even like it was, there were things like I was paying attention to the body language of that offense. That offense is not feeling Gardner Minshew at all. They're not feeling it.
Yeah. By the way, as good as A.J. Brown has been all year, why do you think people are just magnifying him on that one play? Because I can tell you a lot of plays where he was just bringing it every single play. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't even want to know if
I'm not going to crucify him for what he said. Right? I'm not going to crucify him.
No, I'm not either. I wasn't even in that scrum. I was talking to James Bradberry when all that was going on.
Yeah, right. And from my perspective, Eagles fans got to understand. Yeah, AJ Brown is a team guy. Yeah, we love him. We love the big plays he makes, but he's still a wide receiver. And wide receivers have a personality archetype, right? There's, at the end of the day, no matter how humble a wide receiver is, they're a wide receiver for a reason, for more than just talent. They like to be the star of the show. They like to make the plays.
Not everybody's Devonta Smith. Let's
not everybody's Devonta Smith, but even him, I'm pretty sure he has a slight ego. He's a wide receiver. The two most egotistical positions on the football field is the wide receiver and the cornerback position. That's my opinion.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right on that. Perfect example. Jair Alexander. Justin
I knew you were going
Jefferson.
to bring that up. Shout out to Jair Alexander for proving his doubters wrong.
I love that, by the way. Talks trash, backs it up, and then when he backs it up, just basically goes into the gritty thing. I don't want to go too far off topic here, but I love Justin Jefferson, but its performances like against Jair Alexander and Darius Darius Slay make me wonder how good he really is. Like, he's good, don't get me wrong, but Jerry Rice gets 6 catches for 80 yards off a guy like that. Just does.
Right. And that's a bad game for Jerry Rice.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's like, Justin Jefferson does this. I'm like, okay, now I can actually I have numbers to prove, like, okay, so when he goes up against Slay, when he goes up against Trayvon Diggs, when he goes up against Jair Alexander, there's nothing.
It makes you wonder. It truly makes you wonder just how dominant he is in those kind of moments, in those kind of matchups. And look, sometimes certain players just have your number. It's like, even in basketball, right? There's some players who aren't even star players, but for some reason, that player always plays his best basketball when he goes up against this superstar, and that superstar can't do anything with it. Sometimes there are weird matchups in sports like that. This person may not even be on your skill level or your talent level, but for some reason they know how to defend you better than everyone else.
Well, here's a good one. So Jalen Rose, I don't want to say he was a good defender, but he was an okay defender in the league. I mean, he was in the league for 15 years. Everybody remembers him as the guy Kobe Bryant scored 81 points off of. I mean, he's not that bad of a defender. It's just Kobe had his number that night.
Yeah, he wasn't a bad defender. I would say Jalen Rose was definitely a B plus defender.
By the way, he handles that with class.
You have to. It's Kobe Bryant. You have to, man. RIP to the GOAT. But despite the loss, despite the Eagles losing to the Saints 20-10, an embarrassing loss. If we haven't already stated that already. They're still in control of their destiny, Jeff. So now they have to go into week 18. 10 times out of 10, actually, they're starting Jalen Hurts. This is a big game. This is for all the marbles.
Must-win game.
Must-win game, right? And Jalen Hurts is going to be back. We don't really know what he's going to look like. We don't know how bad that shoulder really is or was. I'm curious to see how he looks. This is the first time this team is has actually experienced their first losing streak of the season, 2-game losing streak. And you can make an argument this is the first time they felt or come up against true adversity. So, you got to ask yourself, right? Are the Eagles going into the playoffs on the wrong foot? But just to add some context before you answer, Jeff, that 2017 team that won the Super Bowl, they didn't go into the playoffs with the most momentum.
Neither did 2004. I mean, they clinched everything, and they rested guys. But I remember that was a little bit of conversation too. Like, oh, is Andy Reid doing the right thing, resting these guys? And it wasn't as big of a deal as it is now when you do it. But They lost 2 straight going into the playoffs. Now, granted, everything was clinched. But you're right. 17 ain't going with that much momentum either. But now you have a chance to get it back. So this is why I kind of like this win and clinch everything scenario. At least in my opinion. I like how they could go out and they have one more game to get everything right, as Jason Kelsey said, to figure out everything again. And James Bradberry said that. Linval Joseph said that. And Ndamukong Suh said that. I talked to a lot of the veterans on this team. They're like, look, everything's still in front of us. And, you mentioned the Giants might rest their start. I mean, honestly, they should rest their starters, if we're going to be honest. They can't go lower than the 6, and they can't go higher. And they're probably going to play the Vikings the first round. If I'm the Giants, Saquon Barkley does not see that field on Sunday. Period.
Yeah, I agree with you. You brought up the veterans. Is this a moment? Is this one of those moments where the veterans are more important than ever?
Absolutely. And the veterans, every veteran I talked to on this team gave great answers on this. They're like, look, it's some adversity. We understand that. And James Bradberry said, I don't care who's in front of me. And he did mention the Giants, though. He said, I don't care who's in front of me. I'm working my butt off this week. I am making sure my technique is down. Everything is right. And I'm making sure our defense is right. And Linval Joseph said that. Ndamukong Suh said that. We are going out here. It is a business week. We got to take care of business. And we got to fix what we need to fix here. And I think they are the veterans. They don't dwell too much on the win. And they don't dwell too much on a loss. So I think they're looking at it as, look, we still have everything right in front of us. Let's not blow this.
Yeah, this team has been riding high all year. And you never know who you are until chaos strikes. I always say, don't judge me in a time of peace. Judge me during a time of chaos. Because that's how you find out who you're going to war with. That's how you find out where your soul is, where your heart is, Jeff. And I feel strongly that this team needed a firm reminder that this can go south really quickly. And you can make an argument as well. Jalen Hurts' value, I mentioned this earlier, he is the system. Jalen Hurts' value has been elevated over these past couple of weeks. You can't deny it. The team responds completely different. The team just responds differently. You see, in my humble opinion, physically they look different. They don't seem to be playing as freely. They seem to be second-guessing every route, every move, everything. Sure, shout out to Devontae Smith having another 100-yard day. He's on fire right now. A.J. Brown had a really big catch. Took it 70-plus yards, I believe it was. This team still has firepower. This team, yes, it's easy to panic right now. It's easy to sound the alarm. But they are, and they have been, without their starting quarterback that they're going to get back this week. This actually is playing more so into what I actually preferred. I wanted Jalen Hurts to play that final game because I wanted him to go in with some level of elasticity on that shoulder, right? I didn't want him to go in, I didn't want his first game back to be a playoff game where he's still trying to work out the kinks of that shoulder and kind of discover his limitations if they exist, right?
Yeah. So the last time I want to say I had some uncertainty going to a playoff game with the quarterback was when McNabb came back in 2002 when he missed the final, I think it was 6 games with the broken leg. And he was able to come back, and they had the bye week because I don't think he would have been back for the wild card week. So he was basically off for almost 2 months. And Donovan looked rusty in the first half. I mean, and the game was close. I mean, their only touchdown was a pick 6 by Bobby Taylor. But that second half, he started feeling it. But Donovan was never the same player the rest of that season. In the NFC Championship game, I always go back to, if Donovan McNabb was healthy, they would have beaten the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's no doubt in my mind because he had the mobility, but it wasn't fully back yet because you're coming back from broken ankle, broken leg. Like you were hurt. That's why I'm kind of glad Jalen is playing to get some of the rust off. I don't think Jalen's going to have an MVP type performance Sunday, but I think his presence is going to be more than enough to beat this team, whether they play stars or not. And by the way, let's get rid of this narrative now. I don't ever want to hear the Eagles back into the playoffs if they be a team that rests their starters. That's BS. I know some people have said that, and I'm like, no, that's just not true. It's not the Eagles' fault. The Giants have the opportunity to rest their starters. If you want to blame anybody for that, maybe you should blame the Dallas Cowboys for losing to the Green Bay Packers and Jacksonville Jaguar. The Eagles built themselves to be in this position. All they have to do is win 1 of 3 games. Sunday's the opportunity.
Yeah, this is exactly why you want to do your work early, right? So you can have room for error on the back end. Obviously, you don't want to lose games, but ultimately, this is what this is what's called doing your work early. You know what I'm saying? It's like being in middle school, right? You grind all year so you can kind of bullshit in May, in June when things get a little light. You know what I mean? So Jeff, let's take a break. I have some topics I want to broach with you. Obviously, the Josh Sweat injury, we have yet to talk about that. I want to talk to you a little bit more about Miles Sanders' contributions, and also we can talk about the Giants clinching, what that means for them. We can just pretty much talk about the rest of this NFC East and really tap in.
We also have to talk about the Commanders actually relying their season on Carson Wentz.
We're going to talk about that too. And you guys, make sure you continue to smash that like button. You guys have been locked in on Good Morning NFC East with your humble host, Jeff Kerr. And I'm your main man, Tone DeShields II. Keep it locked, you guys. You don't want to miss this.
Go